Welcome to the Raising Confident Girls podcast, your guide to raising strong, confident daughters. I'm Melissa Jones, the founder of Girls Positivity Club and a teacher for over 20 years. In a world where girls often feel overwhelmed, anxious, and confused, this podcast is your go-to space. As caregivers, we navigate challenges together. I founded Girls Positivity Club to provide a place where you belong and get the tools to face today's hurdles. Consider this your regular check-in with a trusted friend, offering insights and practical tips for meaningful conversations. I'm here to help you feel confident on this journey of raising a generation of empowered girls. Let's dive in and raise those confident girls together. Hey everybody, it's Melissa and welcome back to Raising Confident Girls. I'm so grateful that you're here today. If you're new here, welcome. And if you've been listening for a while, I'm so glad you're here with me each week. Today, we're going to be talking about something subtle but deeply emotional. The days when your daughter seems off and you can't figure out why. Not full meltdowns, not huge friendship drama, just different. Quieter, shorter, less spark. Or maybe the spark is too much because she's irritable or overwhelmed by the smallest thing. And as a parent, that something feels off instinct is strong. But when you're asking what's wrong, she might shrug or say, I'm fine. So today I'm giving you 5 things to say that gently open the door without pushing, prying, or overwhelming her. These are phrases that help her feel safe even when she's not ready to talk yet. So last week in one of my clubs, a girl came in wearing her usual bright headband, but everything else about her felt dimmer. She sat closer to the edge of the circle. She pulled her sleeves over her hands. She didn't laugh at the things she normally would. And when I asked her how her day was, she gave the tiniest shrug and said it was okay, just okay. Nothing specific, nothing dramatic, just off. And then that's when I was reminded that girls don't always tell us something's wrong. They show us. Before we jump into the 5 phrases, I want to share something really important. December is when we raise scholarships for girls who would love to be in Girls Positivity Club, but financially can't. Sponsoring a girl gives her 8 weeks of confidence building, tools for friendships, and a positive community, and most importantly, a space where she truly belongs for being herself, something that every girl deserves. So if you would like to help a girl join a club this year, every amount helps. You can learn more at girlspositivityclub.org and just click on the donate button and it'll show you some options. And every dollar really does count and it adds up. We were able to give over 70 scholarships so far this year and they've been used by the girls. So it's not like our scholarships sit a long time. Like we have girls on wait lists who really would love to be part of communities, but really just need the financial help. And so we would love to have your support in that. It would just mean the world. And it's literally changing lives. So even if a girl is only able to participate in one 8-week session, that plants a seed that can stay with her for the rest of her life. And you can be a part of that. So it's a really special time of year. We raise for scholarships year round, but December especially, we do a very focused time where we really try and give to as many girls as we can. So if that is pulling at your heart, I would love for you to take a look. And like I said, any amount is helpful. And we are just so grateful for those of you who have donated or would like to do so. It just really means everything. So thank you for that generosity. Okay, let's dive in. So these phrases are going to help you in those moments when she is a little off and you're just not quite sure what to do. And so, or like what to say. And so the first phrase is, you don't have to talk, but I'm here when you want to. And this is such a powerful phrase because girls shut down most when they feel pressure to perform emotional clarity. So when they're being asked to name it exactly and be super clear, it's really hard for girls to do that because they don't always know exactly why. They can't necessarily pinpoint one exact moment. And this phrase tells her that there's no pressure there's no expectation, there's no interrogation, and there's no timeline. It's just telling her that you're there when she's ready. And it really, in my experience, both as a parent and as a leader of girls, as a teacher for 23 years, it really helps them feel in control of when they talk about something because they're not always on our timeline. And so you're giving her the safety that she needs to eventually open the door herself. So use this in the moment. If she comes home and goes straight to her room, or if she snaps at you when you ask a simple question, just gently say, I'm here when you want to talk about your day. No rush. So a girl once told her mom, I didn't want to tell you, this is what a girl's told me before. I didn't want to tell you I was upset because I didn't know how to say it. So again, it's that time where they don't really exactly know how to describe it. And especially because it may not be like a super big thing. It might just be something that someone said to her and it sounded a little bit off. It might be that one of her friends didn't hang out with her at recess when they normally do. Or it might be if they're older, maybe something happened in the hallway that wasn't a huge ordeal, but it just made her feel a little bit off. Or maybe she's tired. Maybe she's feeling a lot of pressure from a lot of assignments. So you just don't really know exactly what it is. And sometimes she has a hard time pinpointing what it is. And it might just be a combination of things. So this is when you say that phrase, it removes that fear. This is the time when you can say that. And here are some different age variations. And again, anytime I list age variations or age appropriate things to say, you can always mix and match and pick the one that fits your daughter best, because I know there are more mature younger kids and there are older kids who might need things in a little bit of a simpler way. So these are only guidelines to help you. So in that 6 to 9 age range, you can say, you don't have to tell me right away. I'll be right here when you're ready. And then as they're getting older, that 10 to 13 age, especially in those tween ages, I won't push. When you're ready, I want to listen. And then when they're 13 plus, if today was heavy, you don't have to explain it to me yet. I'm here. Or if today felt like a lot and you're not ready to talk about it, I'm here when you are. So it might not even be that day. It might be the next day. And I know for myself as a parent of a teenager, I felt kind of a panic before when they don't want to talk about it right away. And so it's like, you can, it doesn't have to be immediate. They don't have to tell you, because I can tell you this, whenever I've pushed and pushed and pushed to get information, it usually ends up in a fight, or it usually ends up in really snippy comments, or they don't want to talk about it and they just get very irritated, and then it makes them not want to open up to you at all. So I'm not telling you that as like, don't ever ask a couple of times, but really know that if she wants to talk to you about it, she will. And it just may not be on our time frame when we want to talk about it. And just know that it doesn't mean if she doesn't talk about it that day that she never will. And the second phrase is, your feelings make sense to me even before you put them into words. So girls often think that their feelings are irrational, dramatic, embarrassing, too much, and you're giving them permission to be human. And so you don't have to make sense right away for your feelings to matter. Means it takes the I don't know why I feel this way shame away, because sometimes there is some shame. They're like, I feel like I shouldn't be feeling like this, and or I feel like that the thing that I'm upset about wasn't that big of a deal, and I am acting babyish, or I'm acting dramatic, or I don't want to be this and that. So they may just feel like that. Again, they don't know why they're feeling the way that they are. And by you giving them permission to really just say that it doesn't have to make sense to feel this way, gives them that permission to feel like it's normal. And if I think about a situation with the girls, like at camp this summer, one girl got really emotional out of nowhere during this silly game we were playing. So what we do at camp is we do a lot of community building, and we'll play little silly games to help them build connection. And she got really emotional out of nowhere. And when I said this phrase, that it was okay, like she didn't have to explain why she felt emotional or why she felt this big feeling, she said to me, really? Like, even if I don't know why? And I said, yes, you don't have to know why. Like, it's okay. And you can sit this round out, or you can just watch for a little bit. And so it's giving them that space to know that they don't have to know why. And it's really important for us to give that kind of permission to girls in different types of settings. And so, how this can look at a younger age is you can say your feelings are okay, even if you don't have the words. So, this girl in particular, nothing happened, nothing went wrong in the game. She wasn't out, like, there wasn't any real logical reason, but it turned out that she was a little bit tired from the night before, and she kind of had a rough morning with her parents, and she was just feeling a little bit of sensitivity about that. And so when we played this silly game, she wasn't really in the mood to be silly. She just was still kind of thinking about it. And I found that out later. But if you say your feelings are okay, even if you don't have the words, it really just gives her permission to know that it's okay if she doesn't know exactly how to explain it. And then that 10 to 13 ages, they're getting a little bit older. In that upper elementary to middle school age, you can say, you don't need a perfect explanation for me to understand you. And so just giving them this space really helps, especially at that age when a lot of things just feel uncomfortable and confusing. And then when they're 13 and over, when they're in their teen age, you don't owe anyone a neatly organized explanation. Like, you don't have to have an exact way to explain it for your emotions, not even for me. So it's okay. It's basically telling her, like, it's okay to have messy emotions. It's okay to feel like you're not sure, because their hormones are all over the place, especially as they're teenagers, because they're just trying to figure out their bodies, the way that they're interacting with, people socially and their friends, and just all these different dynamics, and still wanting to be a good student, or still wanting to maintain certain relationships in their lives. And so, it's just a lot that they're juggling. And then the pressure of, like, having to know what you want to do for the rest of your life. Like, I don't think parents always put that pressure on them, but I think it is something that can be very confusing for them, especially if they have friends who know exactly what they think they want to do in life. And, so they're just having a lot of mixes of emotions. And then the third phrase is, you're allowed to have an off day. We all do. So even for yourself, like, think about when you just felt off and there wasn't really a clear explanation. It's like, it's okay to feel off. Everybody has those days sometimes. And so girls can carry an unconscious belief that they should always be, especially if they're like a happy kind of child, happy, friendly, easy to get along with. Like, they should always be this positive person, or they should always act like themselves. And so when you say we all have an off day, then it helps them understand that off days are normal. Mood dips are part of being human. Like, even as adults, think of the days when you just feel a little bit irritable, or you feel a little sad, or you feel whatever feeling, like you just don't feel quite like yourself. And so it's just letting them know that nothing is wrong with them, and that they are allowed to feel this way. And it also doesn't mean it's going to last forever. So I always told my students in my classroom that every day's a fresh start. So, as cheesy as that sounds to some kids, it's like, even if things don't go well in a day, to me, every day is a start over. And it doesn't mean that you erase everything that happened the day before, but you can feel different in one day. And so, it's just reminding them that this doesn't mean something bad happened. It just means that they're human. So in Girls Positivity Club, I say this phrase all the time, and girls almost always exhale. Like, they just take a deep exhale and they feel so much better, because it's like, it's okay if you feel off. It's okay. However you come to club is good. Like, it's just who you are on this day and this hour. And so the reason that they exhale is because someone finally gave them permission outside of the classroom to not perform joy all the time. So we say that all the time in Girls Positivity Club. Like, this isn't a place where it's like good vibes only. It also isn't a place where we're negative all the time, but we teach that all feelings are valid, and that they don't have to act a certain way all the time. And so even though we want it to be a positive place, and our agreements are that people aren't negative or mean to other people, they are accepting and inclusive, it also doesn't mean that it has to be all unicorns and rainbows for them every day of their life. So it's giving them that permission. And how this can sound at ages 6 to 9, and what you can say is everybody has days when they're extra tired or quiet, and that's okay. Especially if you have a really talkative girl and she normally isn't, and you're like, what's wrong? What's wrong? And it's like, nothing's wrong. She just feels quiet. And so it's okay for them to feel that way and to act that way. And I'm sure you have those moments too. And then as they're getting older, that 10 to 13 age, you can say off days don't mean something's wrong with you. They're normal. So it doesn't mean anything's wrong. It just can be that you just feel a little off. And then as they're getting older, 13 and up, it's being human means having days that fluctuate. So your mood doesn't have to be the same every day of life, and you don't need to power through it. Like, feel the feelings, like I said, and just keep going. So that is a way for you to say that they're allowed to be off, and that's okay. And you can even explain where you feel off sometimes, and you can't always explain why. Sometimes you can. Sometimes you're tired. Sometimes something went wrong in the day, in the morning, and it kind of threw off your day. Or sometimes you woke up late, but not always, and not every time. And that might be a misconception for them, as what, like, they think that there has to be a reason and they can't really name what it is. It might just be little things, or they just might feel different in their body. And so the fourth phrase is, you're not in trouble. I just want to understand you. So this, a lot of times, is such a door opener for girls, because there is a fear that they're going to get in trouble if they tell you something that's true for them. So why this works, to say you're not in trouble, I just want to understand you, is because girls sometimes think that your questions mean that you're doing something wrong, like they're doing something wrong. So, and I had this experience too when I was teaching, where if I talked to someone, like I talked to a girl about something, she would interpret it as yelling, even though I didn't raise my voice at all. We were just talking. And so to them, it can sometimes feel kind of like an attack when you're even talking to them about it. And I did it in the most gentle way I could, but there just are times when kids feel like that they're doing something wrong if they get talked to, especially if they typically don't get into trouble, or they don't push boundaries or anything like that. Well, I believe that all kids do, but in certain settings, or like they might think that you're being hard on them or something like that. So by you saying you're not in trouble, I just want to understand what's going on, especially if they slammed the door, they stomped up the stairs or something like that, really opens that door. And so this is especially important for perfectionistic girls, people pleasers, or anxious kids, because they will tend to think that they're in trouble, even though they're not, or they're being yelled at, even though you're not yelling at them, you're not reprimanding them, you're just talking to them about something. And so this phrase just lowers her defensiveness. And then right after that, you can say something gentle. You can ask, what part of today felt like a lot? Or what moment felt a little off for you? Or you can just simply say, there's no pressure. I'm just curious. Like, I'm just trying to understand. So this is really important, because especially when I can name so many times when girls avoid eye contact, and they just are afraid to talk about the thing. And so they might even sit by themselves. So in club, I've seen this lots of times, where they might avoid eye contact with me for half the session, or they might just like seem very quiet and very kind of pulled away from everyone else. They might sit by themselves as a choice. And I always check in with them and make sure they're okay, and give them that space option, and just make sure that they know that they're invited and they're included, because that is a core value of our clubs. And especially when I say, like, honey, I'm just talking with you about just checking in and making sure you're okay. You're not in trouble. I'm just noticing that you're sitting by yourself, or you're just being a little bit quieter than usual. And I just want to make sure that you're okay. And in the classroom, whenever I would see a girl acting out of character, anytime I said, you're just not quite acting like yourself, and I just want to make sure you're okay. And most of the time they would break down and cry. And that wasn't ever my intention, but it was just like, honey, what's going on? Like, you seem a little bit not like yourself today. And sometimes it was just them trying to hold themselves together for some reason. And I'm not saying it's always going to end up like in that way, but that would happen more times than not if I noticed that a girl was acting really out of character or she just was super off, and just giving her that permission to be able to share in a safe way. And it's saying, like, you're not in trouble, I'm just noticing this, really gives them permission to open up. And so in the example of the club, when I asked the girl, like, because we always go to tables to do the crafting, like, activity part of the session, and I just saw her whole body kind of relax and her shoulders go down. And so me just offering that space for her really made a huge difference. And she said later, I thought you might be disappointed in me that I wasn't joining the group. And I was like, oh my gosh, no. Like, I just knew that you needed a little bit of time to yourself. And I just wanted to also make sure you knew you weren't alone. So you can borrow that same kind of, talk where you're like, you're not in trouble at all. I just am making sure you're okay. And it's also okay if you don't want to talk right now. I just want to make sure that you know I'm here for you. And so your girl might feel the same, but giving her that phrase just really opens that door. And then the fifth phrase is, I love you on your sparkly days and your heavy days. So why this is important is because a lot of girls' core fear is if they are not always sparkly, that they're not going to be as lovable. And so I know that that's not true, and you're not saying that to them at all, but there is this fear of it. And so they're basically saying to themselves, am I still lovable when I'm not fun? Or when I'm not chatty, or when I'm not myself, especially if it's a really bubbly girl who's very upbeat normally. And it doesn't mean only those types of girls, it can be any girl, but they want to make sure that they have that unconditional love all the time. And so this phrase answers that for her. I love you on your sparkly days and on your heavy days. Or I love you on your sparkly days and your days when you feel a little low, however you want to word it. And so you can just say, like, you don't have to say it exactly like that because that can be a little bit too much for some girls. You can say, nothing you feel changes how I feel about you. Or what I've said to my teenager before is, nothing is going to change that I love you. Like, there's nothing you could ever do or say. I may be disappointed in something, but I am never going to stop loving you. Like, there is no reason that I would ever stop loving you, even when you're grouchy, even when you're happy. Like, it doesn't matter your mood. I just want to make sure you know that you're supported and you're loved no matter how you are. And so nothing will change the way I feel about you. So this is especially important when they do something that is a mistake. And so that's what I meant when I said that about my teenager. Like, I'd say, I may not always agree. And I wouldn't add that unless it's coming off of a conversation when they did do something that was not ideal or goes against your family rules or values and things. And in that case, it was that for me. But it was separating my love from the action. And so later, it was such a bridge, and we had a conversation about it being like, thank you for saying that. Like, that meant a lot to me. And it was in text form, but still, it was like, thank you, Mom. I appreciate that. And so when they're younger, you can say, I love you when you're bouncy, and when you're snuggly, and when you're quiet, and when you're this, and when you're that. So it's kind of like naming all the different types of moods. And it may seem obvious to us, and like, of course they know that, but they still need to hear it because it's really important for them to know that they do have our unconditional love, even when you think they already know it and they're like, oh, that's a given. They should know that I love them no matter what. But there's still something really powerful about saying it out loud to them. And so as they're getting a little bit older, you can say in that 10 to 13 age, you don't have to be happy for me to care about you. You don't have to be this certain way for me to love you. And then when they're in their teens, you can say you're still fully loved, even on the days when you don't feel like yourself. Or I'm always here to support and love you, even when you don't feel fill in the blank. So those are just really important ways for you to express that you love them unconditionally, no matter how they're feeling or what their mood is. And so circling back to the girl from the beginning, the girl who felt silly during the game, it's like she came in different the next day. She was still quiet, but she walked straight to me and said, "Today feels a little better." And so it was almost like she was checking in with me and just telling me that she was feeling a little better. And that also signaled to me that it mattered what we talked about and how I supported her in that moment. Even though it was a really quick thing, it wasn't like we had some deep conversation. It was just a quick check-in, making sure she knew that it was okay. And the next day she felt better, which is great. The most important thing is she noticed that someone else noticed. She noticed that someone slowed down for her. She noticed that someone didn't push her. And your daughter just needs the same thing, not perfection, just presence. And so you don't have to fix her hard days, her heavy days. You don't have to pull information out of her. You don't have to decode her feelings perfectly. These phrases soften her inner world so she can open up when she's ready. And trust me, she will. Thanks for joining another empowering episode of the Raising Confident Girls podcast. Share today's insights with caregivers and friends, building beautiful relationships with strong girls. Hit subscribe so you never miss an episode. We're not just a podcast, we're a community. Follow Girls Positivity Club on social media for more empowering content on Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, and YouTube. This podcast empowers you, supporting incredible girls. Let's create strong, beautiful relationships with the girls in our lives. I appreciate you listening today. Stay confident, stay connected. Until next time, keep raising those confident girls. You've got this.